Good morning. Welcome to our Sunday hybrid service. We are in person and on Zoom. Our building is on the unceded ancestral territory of the Ahashiman and Tongva tribes. Our land acknowledgement is an offering of gratitude and respect to the indigenous peoples as the traditional stewards of this land and their connections to and teachings about our earth. Our gathering music video was The Earth is Our Mother, and this is the UU hymn 1073 in our teal hymnal. It was sung by the Orange Coast UU Church with images courtesy of Netflix's film, Our Planet. The words and music, as we find them in our hymn book, are attributed to being Native American and from the Songs for Earthlings. The hymn, The Earth is Our Mother, highlights our connection not just to our Mother Earth, but also to teach each other and reach us and join us together as one human family. Today's sermon by returning guest minister, Reverend Dr. Terry LePage, will further explore our relationships to each other, nature, and the universe, and is titled, Everything is Connected to Everything Else. Everywhere on Sunday mornings, Unitarians all over the world light the chalice to open worship services. Please light a candle at home if you happen to have one nearby. And my wonderful husband, Brian, who puts up with so much, will light our chalice while we all read our chalice lighting words together. And the words will be on the screen. And these are from the UUA website. And if you're on Zoom, please unmute as we read them together. We light this flame
with love for mothers and fathers, past, present, and future. We light this flame in celebration of community and its generations. We light this flame with respect and support for the greater circle of life of which we are all a part, and that makes us family of all of us.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers and to everyone who's ever had a father. There are candles on the side of the sanctuary, and you may light a candle at any time for whatever's on your heart during the service. And we also have spoken joys and sorrows later on in the service. Each Sunday service is a collective effort, from scheduling speakers to making coffee, to Jean sending fresh donuts, caring for the building and plants, setting up candles, having beautiful music, running sound and PowerPoint, and more. And we're grateful to everyone for their generosity in time and effort. And whether today is your first, second, or third, or 100th Sunday here, we're joyful because you're here with us. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. All of us are growing, learning together. Our main doctrine in Unitarian Universalism is love. We accept you for who and what you are, and your beliefs and your spiritual journey are yours. What we do share are our 8 principles. And those are on the back of your order of service, or you can look them up on any UUFLB, UUA website.
Investments in today's economy? I'm sorry, but you've got it wrong. There's a little known trend attracting millions of dollars a day right now called Audible uploads. Audible, owned by Amazon, is one of the biggest sources of audiobooks and podcasts in the world,
of which we are a part. And the 7th principle is further explained on the UUA website as all that we are, together and individually, is part of the abundance of the universe, and you are loved beyond your wildest imaginings by the spirit of creation. Next, Don will put up a slide that shows our upcoming services. Next week, we have Bruce Johnson, and the title of Bruce's service is, Are You a Socian Without Knowing It? And of course, I had to look up that word, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. You'll have to come to the service to figure it out. or you could look it up. Next, the following week will be Stacy Pendleton on sound healing. And Stacy uses musical bowls and healing chants. And on the 30th, Stacy will be healing us on the topic of how grief teaches us the sacredness of life. Then we have the Summer Up program, and that stands for Unique Programming with Don West. And the book that Don will be sort of ushering us through or helping us explore is on repentance and repair, making amends in an unapologetic world. And in this book, it's written for people of any or no religion. It will explore relationships, personal and with the wider community, on accountability and making amends. And even if you haven't read the book, I feel the Summer Up program, as always, with Don West will be transformative and educating. So that's something that you want to be here for, or you can join by Zoom. The church will be open. You can come in person. And Don put up a slide showing the chapters that will be going on, that he'll be covering. I'll have more the schedule of the chapters for the readings. And a notice went out so you can buy the book now.
And you can get it from Amazon.
Information. Next, we have a few announcements. We have a congregational meeting on the 23rd, and it will be right after Bruce's service. And our pledge drive has begun. We have a Zoom at noon discussion group that meets every Wednesday, and Paul Bogdan hosts. And then you can help host a meal at the alternative sleeping location. And it's, when I say help host a meal, you only have to bring a component of the meal. You're not responsible for the entire meal. And it's a way of doing good with a group of people. And you can see Dara at the AV table, or Candy or Paul, or any of us actually, to see how to join in that effort. Next, Don will put up a slide on our centering thought, which once again, we will be reading together. So please unmute. Okay. We are all
connected
to each other,
biologically,
the earth,
to the earth,
chemically,
to the rest of the universe, atomically.
Not
Not
only
are we in the universe, the universe is in us.
Ross Tyson. Now we turn to our wonderful Carol Cole, our music director, for our opening hymn. And we're only going to be doing the first 3 verses. So, Carol, let's go. Oh, please stand. I forgot.
You beat me. Mother Earth, beloved garden, living treasure underfoot. All our days you ground our being, sage and thistle, grass and root. Herbs to heal us, plants to feed us, land to till and plow. But the penitent deep past midnight north, we ask you be here now. Father, ere your inspiration holds together all that lives, as we breathe our minds see clearly, leading us to love and give. Raging whirlwind, whispered breezes, violent gale and gentle cloud, with the blade as sharp as morning east, we ask you be here now. Brother fire, great transformer, share the passion of the sun in our hearts to warm, revive us, cooks our food and heats our homes. Flaming candle, blood within us, blazing desert, will to grow with the one directing power. Seek, we ask you, some be now.
Beautiful. Thank you, Carol. Now we have our call to worship. with Reverend Dr. Terry.
It's so good to be here with you again. What happened to the West? Can I do a quick West invocation? I feel out of balance, which is important in the sermon, you'll see. So the West to me is change, because that's the direction for us in this part of the world where the storms come from and the wind comes from and the ocean breezes come from. So West, make us not afraid of change. Help us to ride the winds of change and find our place. So as we have already begun to worship this morning, may we honor the secular holidays and the thoughts behind them, and remember that all that we hold in our secular society is but a drop in a great ocean of awareness of humans and non-humans all over the globe. So if you can't relate to Father's Day, relate to something else. That's not what my sermon is about anyways. And still, we honor the children of fathers, the men who have nurtured children and protected children, and the earth, which upholds us all. That is whom we are celebrating today. Thank you for being in worship with us.
Thank you, Reverend Terry. Now is the time for our unison affirmation. Remind ourselves why we come together. So if you're on Zoom, please unmute. And for those here in the sanctuary, we'll be reading the words on the screen together.
May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other.
And to each other. Now is the time in our service where we bring our joys and sorrows to this community, where we can help lighten a burden or we get to celebrate a joy with you. And we'll start with those on Zoom. So if you have something on your hearts that you would like to share, involving financial support. And Candy will be passing a basket. So please give as you're able, and Carol will touch our heart once again with her music. Ah, that was beautiful. Okay, now we're going to sing to each other. And we don't really need to form a circle today. So we'll just stand and sing to each other and look deeply into each other's eyes. The words will be on the screen.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this
we live.
you I receive, to you I give.
Together we share, and from this
we live.
Thank you. And now we have a reading by Reverend Terry.
Since I don't do your worship every week, I forgot how aligned your readings are to the message that I bring you this morning, which is a delight. So you can hear it from other voices. So the reading is 10 Quechua teachings about life and education. They come from the Apu Chapacpata Center in the Sacred Valley of Peru, and they are recorded in the book Hospicing Modernity. Here goes. These 10 principles will always be presented as a glimpse of a much larger body of wisdom that requires discipline and practice. 1, the entire planet Earth, i.e. Pachamama, is my home and my country. My country is my mother, and my mother knows no borders. 2, we are all brothers and sisters, humans, rocks, plants, animals, and all others. 3, Pachamama is a mother pregnant with another generation of non-predatory children who can cultivate, nurse, and balance forces and flows, and who know that any harm done to the planet is harm done to oneself. 4, the answers are in each one of us, but it is difficult to listen when we are not in balance. We hear too many different voices, especially in the cities. 5, the priority for life and education is balance, to act with wisdom, to balance material consumption, to learn to focus on sacred spiritual relationships, to work together with the different gifts of each one of us with a sense of oneness. Our purpose is to learn, and learn again in many lives to become better beings. 6, there is no complete knowledge. We all teach, learn, and keep changing. It is a path without end. There is knowledge that can be known and described. There is knowledge that can be known but not described. And there is knowledge that cannot be known or described. And I think about known knowns, known unknowns, and unknown unknowns when I hear that. 7, our teachers are the Apus, the holy mountain ancestors. Pachamama, the plants, what we live day by day and what has been lived before. The animals, our children, our parents, the spirits, our history, our ancestors, the fire, the water, the wind, all the different elements around us. 8, the serpent, the puma, and the condor, that is the Andean Trinity, are symbols of material and non-material dimensions, of that which can be known, that which cannot be known or determined, and of the connection between all things. 9, the traditional teachings of generosity, of gratitude, and of living in balance that are being lost are very important for our children. It is necessary to recover them. And 10, the world is changed through love, patience, enthusiasm, respect, courage, humility, and living life in balance. The world cannot be changed through wars, conflicts, racism, anger, arrogance, divisions, and borders. The world cannot be changed without sacred spiritual connections.
Thank you, Reverend Terry. That was beautiful. And I know this isn't quite fitting, but as you were getting to the latter ones, I was going, God, no wonder we need to vote in November if we're going to change the world. Okay. As Reverend Terry said, or as we mentioned earlier, everything is connected to everything else, and that's the title of today's service. Reverend Dr. Terry is our returning guest minister, and Reverend Terry LePage loves to inspire people through sermons, through the books she's written. She is an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ. Reverend Terry has served as a transitional minister in Southern California. She previously worked as a research chemist. She currently works for the Deep Adaptation Forum and is a member of the Irvine United Congregational Church. Reverend Terry is active with C.L.U.E, Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice. Reverend Terry supports low-wage workers, immigrants, and incarcerated people because of Jesus's teachings and his example. Reverend Terry lives in Irvine with her husband, Scott. And we are so pleased that Reverend Terry is with us. And now we go to the sermon. And while Reverend Terry walks up here, you guys can take a few deep breaths because I forgot the meditation. So.
Rachel, I'm so glad you're minding the order of service and I'm not, because I always forget things. And while you're taking those deep breaths, why don't you imagine that you have roots coming out of the bottom of your feet that are spreading through the earth and putting you in touch with the great mycelium, the fungal web that is everywhere, and meeting little creepy crawly critters and fuzzy critters in their den, and the roots of great trees and the bulbs of beautiful flowers. You are rooted in our Mother Earth. Just let those roots ground you. And anytime you feel unsettled, threatened, worried, remember, those roots are yours. You are a part of this great web of life. Nothing can shake you from them. Take a few deep breaths, savor your rootedness, and then we'll begin. Okay, time to wake up. So most of you know that I've been exploring how to live faithfully in a time of loss, ecological, climate, political. And I believe that it's too late to prevent a whole lot of loss. But at the same time, it's never too late to seek loving responses to whatever predicament we face. And I keep coming back to that book, Hospicing Modernity, by Vanessa Machado de Oliveira, who also goes by Vanessa Andriotti and has wonderful interviews on YouTube. Vanessa is one of a number of academics who are seeking to lift up indigenous wisdom in this time when we realize that industrial consumer society is killing the planet, and we're thinking to ourselves, but how do we do it differently? We honestly don't know how. I don't know how to live in a way that respects our earth home, but I want to learn. And Vanessa is a professor of education at the University of British Columbia, and she wants to teach, but she needs to learn herself. She has some indigenous heritage, but she goes and studies with indigenous people, and that's where our reading came from. And one thing that traditional people keep telling us is everything is connected to everything else. And I used to think of this in kind of a not very physical sense, a spiritual, mystical sense. So my Christian understanding of the Holy Spirit is that in and through everything is the sacred spirit connecting us. And the theological word for that is panentheism, God in everything. But the reality is that everything is connected to everything else physically, directly, in a very earthy way. And we managed to insulate ourselves from that really effectively, which is why we don't realize what a mess we're making of the planet. So we are a part of what Vanessa calls the metabolism, to give us a sense that the earth and her children, the life on it, are a moving, growing, living, changing, dying, being reborn process, not a fixed thing. So the water that we drink and shower in came from the sea through clouds and rain, and maybe it came this year, and maybe it went through a dam, and maybe it came thousands of years ago and got pumped up, and maybe it came to the Irvine Ranch Water District, already been recycled once to drinkable standards, but nobody will drink it straight from the water processing plant, so they pump it into an aquifer and then pump it back out. I find that hilarious. And the minerals in our body came from rocks, dissolved by microbes, drawn into the roots of plants, usually first through the mycelium, the great web of fungi that connect all the plants. Then we ate the plants, or the animals that ate the plants. And plants have this amazing trick of catching sunlight and turning it into food and building materials. Any wood you see in this room is captured sunlight. They also create oxygen at the same time. All the oxygen we breathe is from plants, or maybe cyanobacteria, which incidentally caused the first mass extinction by poisoning the world with oxygen, as far as we know. That's the hypothesis. So we're made of rocks and sunlight and plants and animals and bacteria in the most literal way. And our DNA is shared with all living things, with animals, 90+%, with plants and fungi, maybe 40%. So the Quechua elders told us in the reading, we are all brothers and sisters, humans, rocks, plants, animals, and all others. And any harm done to the planet is harm done to oneself, because there is no out of this web of life. There is no place to go. You can be quite assured that we can't live on Mars. Our modern culture is harming the planet big time. I can do the math. It's unsustainable. It's just a question of how quickly and how hard it crashes. How then should we live? The Quechua elders tell us the answers are in each one of us. But it's difficult to listen when we are not in balance. We hear too many different voices, especially in the cities. And I would add, on our phones and computers and iPads. So here in this city, we can imagine that humans have things mostly under control. We don't have to check in on our non-human brothers and sisters much to see how they're doing. We get our food and gas and everything else we need from stores and from Amazon, and we send our garbage away someplace. But in the great web of life, there is no away. Away is a story we tell ourselves so we don't have to take responsibility for destruction done for our convenience. Our supply chains circle the globe, connecting us to enslaved and exploited workers, to desolated landscapes, to resource wars. What about living outside the city? What is that like? Well, Vanessa went and lived with an activist named Mama Maria in the Sacred Valley of Peru. She is Quechua, and the Quechua people are not hunter-gatherers. They're the biggest ethnic group in Peru, a language group. They run tourist shops in the city of Pisac near Machu Picchu, but still in many ways they lived as they've lived for centuries under successive empires, most recently Spanish, before them Inca, and the empires in Peru go way back to as far as we can discover traces. But they lived on the land and with the land, and they know that there is no away. They have to take care of Pachamama or they're not going to live. So when Vanessa came to stay with Mama Maria outside the town of Pisac, there were no toilets at her house, not even outhouses. At bedtime, Mama Maria handed Vanessa a bucket to do her toileting and told her she'd pick it up in the morning. Vanessa was mortified. Surely I can empty my own bucket. No, insisted Mama Maria. I take the bucket. That's basic hospitality. Besides, you wouldn't know what to do with it. The pee goes in one place to be mixed with the right amount of the right organic material. The poo goes in another. And besides, the hills are steep and slippery. You don't want to get hurt. This humanure, as we call it, would become fertilizer in their food garden. Now that's recycling. And traditional smallholding farmers all over the world fertilize their fields in this way. We modern people are mostly ignorant of the basic cycles that have kept tiny farms fertile for generations with no petrochemical fertilizers. The Quechua elders say, the priority for life and education is balance, to act with wisdom, to balance material consumption, even poop, to learn to focus on sacred spiritual relationships. But those spiritual relationships are not abstractions. They're what you do with your poop. With simple buckets, the Quechua stay free from the need for extra cash to modernize their houses with indoor plumbing and flush toilets that use a lot of water. This toilet teaching, as Vanessa names it, is spiritual wisdom because it shows us how people have lived in balance with the land for hundreds or thousands of years. I'm not suggesting that you do this, by the way. I'm just letting us know how people manage to stay in balance. So the elders are telling us that the priority for life and education is balance. And that word balance is really important to them, apparently, because they used it 6 times in that reading I gave you. Balance is the center of their ethics. And what do they mean by balance? I'm just scratching the surface, but at a bare minimum, balance means weighing the effects of our actions on all our relatives, human and non-human, before proceeding. Before proceeding. But what if the technology is new? What if we don't know what the effects of our actions will be? Well, traditional people would say, what's the rush? Start slow or not at all. Wait till they stand the test of time. Who in our culture would allow such a thing? Technology always wins out. Traditional people call us moderns immature because we do as we please without being accountable for the consequences like little children. We call it progress. And progress has given us many wonderful things. And plastic-filled oceans, forever chemicals, and 200-pound people each driving in their own 2-ton car. We've built 12 lanes on the 405 freeway, I think I counted right, to ease the traffic. How's that working out for us? No limits. We have no limits. We introduce technology to solve problems, and it just creates new problems. Always. Do we even try to anticipate the problems we are causing? It's sobering to realize that what we call progress can also be called cancerous growth. Infinite growth. The only thing in nature that does that either crashes or crashes and takes its host down with it, like cancer. Balance also means limiting our consumption, taking what we need and not more. What would that be like? Because capitalism, the one with the most wins, right? Wow. Sanctioned psychopathy. Interesting. Capitalism to the Quechua is synonymous with hoarding. Like most traditional communities, they support each other through hard times, and they practice supporting each other all the time. So Mama Maria takes her tourist shop profits and spends them all on her neighbors, buying gifts and food and things she doesn't need to stock the store. She doesn't save anything for the end of the month. She practices those traditional values of her culture, generosity and reciprocity, because she trusts that people who are generous will prosper. And she believes that accumulation blocks the flow, the metabolism of life. And accumulation leads to scarcity. And when we realize how few people have most of the world's wealth and leave the rest without basic needs, we can acknowledge she is correct. I am blessed with retirement accounts and cursed with retirement accounts because I am expected to hoard them for my old age, even as others have nothing. I live in a sick system. I don't like it, but I don't know how to do it differently. Balance means taking responsibility for our role in the web of life in which we are entangled. Everything's connected to everything else, so we're responsible to protect our little corner of that web and not mess it up, not gouge holes in the web by taking more than our share. You know, it's kind of hard to imagine how a culture could be more out of balance than ours is. So let's get one thing straight. We're not any good at this. We do not know how to follow the teachings of the Quechua. I don't have a clue. We're not getting A's in this class. We have so much to learn about balance and limits that it might even seem hopeless to try. But that's our egos talking. The Quechua say, there is no complete knowledge. We all teach and learn and keep changing. It's a path without end. So let's have a sense of humor about it and commit to explore what might it mean to live in balance the way the Quechua are asking us to do. True learning is exploration and experiment. Inevitably, we make mistakes. There's no shame in it. There's humility, right sizing. Why should we know how to do things right when our culture has been doing things wrong since we were born and before? I think we'll know that we're making progress when we can laugh at ourselves. People who know everything, who have to be right, they cannot afford to laugh at themselves. They're taking themselves way too seriously for that. But if we don't even know what we need to know, why not laugh at the absurdity of our situation? I think laughing will help us feel comfortable and get the rust off and let us try something different, something that we might have thought was crazy before. Vanessa got to laugh at herself when she lived with Mama Maria. She decided to shadow Mama Maria to see how she did her community organizing. They were going to do it for a week. They lasted 45 minutes. The attempt made both of the women crazy. Vanessa got to laugh at herself again when Mama Maria decided that Vanessa should work at her tourist shop. They dressed her up like a Quechua woman with stripy colored alpaca socks and layers of colorful skirts, and she could pass as a native. She's got some indigenous heritage. But at the shop, she could not act her part. She got so angry at those rude, greedy, thoughtless foreign tourists that she kept chasing all the customers away. One day she got so frustrated trying to sell the tourist trinkets that when she came home, she just dissolved into tears. So Mama Maria gave her a traditional remedy. She spat spiced water on Vanessa's head, and she smacked her repeatedly with branches of herbs. That remedy worked. Vanessa's tears turned to indignation at this treatment, and she announced that she was going to fix those tourists. She was going to start a program of ethical tourism that would teach tourists to behave properly. Mama Maria just burst out laughing at the absurdity of this idea. And soon Vanessa was joining her, and they laughed so hard they couldn't stop. What follies of our own lives can we laugh at? I live in the most gorgeous places on earth, in one of the most perfect climates on earth, and I spend almost all of my time indoors. A sliding glass door separates me from my beloved native garden, and I stare at a computer screen for hours, getting ready to preach to you about the wonders of nature. Thank you. Silly me. And that's enough for now. Laughing at myself is strong medicine, and I'll take it in small doses. Thank you. But it is good for me. The Quechua elders have named values that their children need to know that are being lost as modernity hits their village. Since we qualify as children, since we act like children in their eyes, maybe we should take note of those three values. They are living in balance, we've talked about that, generosity, we've also talked about that, and gratitude. Those are the three most important, they tell us. We've talked about the first two. What about gratitude? Well, when I remember that everything is connected to everything else, it's so easy for me to be grateful. I just look around and I say, thank you, oak tree, for making this podium. Thank you to the people who dyed and wove and sewed the beautiful, colorful clothes that you folks are wearing. Thank you, trees, for holding up the building. Thank you to the artist who made low-budget stickies for the glass windows. Thank you for all of it. Thank you to the plants and animals that made my body. And if I remember that, I am broccoli and a whole lot of chicken and tofu. I am those things. Thank you, broccoli, chickens, and tofu. There is so much to be grateful for. Along with grieving, gratitude is a foundational spiritual practice in every healthy culture. We can't practice it too much. And it's an earthy practice too. Thanks for the real things that really sustain us. Now, when we really trust that everything is connected to everything else, we always find things to be grateful for. And one more thing, a really important thing, we always belong, always and everywhere. We will never be lonely when we remember that we are always surrounded by beloved friends, living and dead and yet to be born, human and non-human, spiritual and earthy. We are never alone. We always belong in this great web of life. The Quechua elders say that we have so many teachers. The Apus, the sacred mountains, Pachamama, the plants, what we live day by day and what has lived before, our history, our experience, the animals, our children, our parents, the spirits, our ancestors, the elements, fire, water, wind, and all. So many teachers. Maybe we should try listening to them and turning off our electronic devices. I'm speaking to myself here. We may be remedial learners, but we have so many good teachers. And the Quechua tell us, our purpose is to learn and learn and learn again. Learn over many lifetimes to become better beings. And when we have no ego in the game, learning is adventure. Learning is fun. I don't know how to fix our broken culture, but I trust this last saying of the Quechua elders. The world is changed through love, patience, enthusiasm, respect, courage, humility, and living life in balance. The world cannot be changed without sacred spiritual connections, earthy spiritual connections. Let's rely on those connections and let's see what we can learn together about respecting Pachamama and all her children. Amen.
I can say is, wow, thank you, Reverend Terry. That was heart expanding, mind expanding, and just the connections. Yeah, lots to think about and gratitude. Now we have our closing hymn. Please stand. Our closing hymn is Breaths, and the words will be on your screens.
Listen more often to things that believes. Listen more often to things that to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Zaza. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling trees. They are in the groaning woods. They are in the crying grass. They are in the mourning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters.
Now, Reverend Terry will give us our benediction as I extinguish the chalice.
May you delight in learning how to be in balance, how to respect Pachamama and all her children, and may you know deep in your soul, unshakably, that you are loved and you belong in the great web of life. Amen and blessed be.
And now we will join in a circle and we'll sing our closing song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With Earth as our mother, we are family. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my song of vow. Today, each moment, live each moment in peace, eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Have a lovely day.